To get started, I want to share with you my favorite Lefse making tools. I have here today an electric Lefse grill, a pastry board covered with a pastry cloth, corrugated rolling pin, a pair of Lefse cozies, a potato ricer, Lefse turning stick, and a flour dredger. These tools are not necessary to use, but do make the job easier. I'm just going to move a few of these things out of the way so that we can slice our potatoes and get them ready for boiling. And step one is just as simple as peeling your potatoes and getting them to boil. I suggest using a good quality russet potato. You'll end up with a really good tasty product in the end. When you do peel your potatoes and put them in the pot, you want to slice them in evenly shaped pieces. That makes for a good boiling. Once you have your potatoes peeled and sliced, place them in a pot and cover it with water. I suggest adding just a pinch of salt to help those potatoes gain even more flavor. Then place on the stove to boil as you normally would. And you'll boil the potatoes until they're fork tender. When your potatoes are ready, you want to test for fork tenderness. That's as simple as piercing potatoes with a fork that it easily goes in. When your potatoes have reached this stage, it's time to take them off the heat immediately. And step two is time to rice your potatoes. Before ricing my potatoes, I'd like to put them right into the pot that I was using before to save on dishes. And then you'll simply fill your ricer. I would suggest filling your ricer only about 2/3 of the way full. This makes for easier ricing. And just a word of caution when you are ricing. The potatoes are still very warm and you want to take the ricing slowly. Going too fast can cause potatoes to go all over your room and you could end up with small burns on your hand. So take it slow. And our final step of the ricing is just as easy as measuring up 4 cups of the riced potatoes. And I do suggest measuring into a bowl that you can put a lid on. Remember, the potatoes are still very warm, so be careful. To measure, you just need to lightly pat it in the cup and put into your bowl. And any leftover potatoes you have, save those for dinner. They're very tasty with just a little butter on. I'm going to set these aside and grab my butter to add to our riced potatoes. With this butter, you would just need to cut it into pats so that it melts in nicely. You want your butter to blend in nicely with the riced potatoes. For our recipe, you only need 4 cups of riced potatoes and you'll add to that a 1/4 cup of butter. Once you have that cut into pats, just lightly press into your potatoes. When your butter is finally melted, it's time to stir it in. You just need to stir it in nicely so that there's an even blend throughout your potatoes. When you've gotten your butter completely blended in, it's time to put it in the fridge to cool. You can put it in the fridge with the lid on and keep it overnight, which is the best thing to do. Or you can just put it in the fridge without the lid, check it on it every few minutes, and they'll be ready for you. If you're really in a crunch for time, I suggest putting them in the freezer uncovered, and you can check on them every few minutes until they're cool as well. I pulled some potatoes out of the fridge from yesterday. They're nice and cool and ready to add our ingredients. To those potatoes, we're going to add 1.5 cups of flour, 1/2 cup of whipping cream, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. We've added all of our ingredients. Now it's just as easy as stirring those in. You want to be sure that you incorporate all the ingredients evenly so that there is no large pieces of flour in there or one piece is saltier than the next. When you have all your ingredients stirred in nicely, it's time to knead your dough. Kneading your dough is just like kneading bread. You simply turn it over, press down, and I would suggest doing this 10 to 15 times. And you can do this right in the bowl that you were using rather than taking it out and putting it on a board to turn over or not. This helps get any lumps that may still be in there from potatoes that were too hard from cooling. And it gets you ready for your next step in measuring. There, that looks nice. We're already on to our step 5, and that's where we're going to measure for our patties to roll in our next step. In this recipe, it makes 12 nice rounds. So I would suggest using a 1/3 cup measuring cup, and it's just a matter of scooping out your potatoes, pressing that in just slightly because it does take a little bit to get it out of your cup. Once you've scooped that out, form your patty much like you would a hamburger patty. Sometimes it takes a little finessing, rolling it into a ball. And then, like I said, roll it into a hamburger type patty. My best suggestion here is make sure your edges are nice and smooth. This will help you in your rolling stage to prevent any cracks that may come into place. Now I'm going to reach over here and grab a platter. You're going to want to put all your patties on a platter, and they'll make it easier for your rolling step as well. If you're not going to be rolling very soon, you'll want to refrigerate your patties. Warm patties can result in difficult rolling. Now that we've got all our patties made, we're going to start clearing the area to get ready for our rolling and cooking. Now that we've cleared our area, it's time to get set up for step 6, which includes rolling our lefse to get prepared for grilling. Now that we have our things set up, we need to do a little bit of preparation, such as flouring our board and getting our rolling pin ready. I like to use the flour dredger because it does disperse the flour evenly. So I'll fill that up now. Okay, and then we'll just sprinkle a little bit of flour all over the board. This is a clean cloth. It hasn't been used before. And I just want to show you how to prep that. Be very generous with your flour. If you don't have a dredger, just use your fingertips or a measuring cup and sprinkle the flour over. Work it in a circular motion. And you can see here, I can still see the words through there, which is fine. But you want to make sure you have lots of flour worked in. This is going to help to prevent any sticking with your lefse. Okay, we have our board prepped and our rolling pin prepped. Now it's time to plug in the lefse grill and get that heated up. It takes a good 10 minutes sometimes to get that to the 500-degree temperature. So I'm going to move a few things aside and get that set up. Okay, now that we've got our lefse grill plugged in, it's heating up, and our board and rolling pin are prepped, we can start to roll. Just going to put on a small sprinkling in the middle. That's where your patties tend to stick. You got them all shaped, so they should be ready to go. I place them in the center of the board. Start with your first roll, just a nice easy roll back and forth. And then it's just best to change your angle. You do this much like you would be rolling out a pie crust. Back and forth, changing your angle. And ideally you want your lefse to be round, but that doesn't always happen. And ovals eat just the same as a round one, so it doesn't really matter. When you get out there, your sheet's getting larger, sometimes you just want to work around the edges. Sometimes those tend to get thick. You do want your sheet to be consistently even in the thickness of it so that it cooks nice and evenly. Here we are at step 7 already. Time to transfer your lefse to the hot grill. So I'm going to grab my lefse stick here. Now there's many ways to transfer your lefse. In our house we just slide our stick down the middle of the lefse, lift up slowly, and give it a little flip onto the grill. So here we are lifting slowly. You want to get your edge as close to the edge of the grill as possible and unroll. Okay, we're looking for brown markings on there, and it looks like we have some nice ones there. And now it's time to transfer to our cozy. So we're just going to slide our lefse stick underneath. And I do suggest using a cover to your lefse if you're not going to be packaging it soon. Lefse does have a tendency to dry out, so it's best to cover that. If you're looking for more information on how to make lefse, there is downloadable instructions on our website at www.lefsetime.com. You'll find the instructions and all the equipment to purchase that you've seen here today.